Oh man, like I said, a lot going on, and oh, we didn't get to talk about this last week, but the Marriage Act um, being reinstated in California for marriage equality. That was actually, very huge, especially for our gay and lesbian community. It
Hmm.
was a big, 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 big day and a big victory. And so, we didn't get a chance to talk about that last week because there was so much going on, but that was another huge thing in our world. I know here in California, I think that at midnight that next day, they were able to, perform their first marriage, and then subsequently have had a ton this
Oh,
last
yeah.
week.
Right.
And so that was a big step for our country, I think. Um, and just even bringing it down to personal friends of mine who can now go ahead and consider marriage, even if it's not on the table for them just yet. But the fact that it'll be an option for them, just like it's been an option for me in my life, my entire life, um, it was a huge day. So very, very happy for some of my friends that are going to be able to experience marriage just like I have.
Yeah. And for those whose marriages don't work, I have a new group of friends that I can be a divorcee whisperer for.
Right.
It's kind of funny because you think about like there's so many people who actually are eligible or were eligible legally able to get married, and they're like, no, what are you thinking? And
Yeah.
I have a few friends who have been in relationships for 35 years.
Mhm.
Is one couple, Ann and Jackie. And I said, the girls are willing to be flower girls, and they were like, we're not doing all of that.
Really.
Yeah, but to
Mhm.
be able to just, have that option, it's
Exactly.
important. Yeah. So we want to definitely thank Sylvia Global for letting us be here, and be able to enjoy each other's company and talk about some of the things that are going on in our world today. Devoted Moms, we have lots of things to talk with our children about, and I say with our children
Mhm.
because they get exposed to this stuff and they're looking to us to try to
Makes
make
sense.
it make sense. Yeah. So I just want to, encourage devoted moms to seek each other, um, and try to talk it out maybe before you get that crazy question.
Yes.
Like trying to explain why a kid going to get Skittles from the store, um, the end result was so bad.
Right. Right. Or even like with Paula Dean and how our words can come back to bite us, and how we need to be responsible and take responsibility for what we say and how we say it and when we say it, and that you're not immune to it when you become an adult, that you do have to still watch your words. And we tell our kids all the time to treat others the way that we want to be treated, and that doesn't change when you become an adult. And so, a lot of the things that we're talking about today, and one of the reasons, Regina brought up a great point. One of the reasons why we are talking about some of these things on Devoted Moms and how is it applicable to us as mothers is the conversation with your children, and just like the conversation that my parents had with me, about Rodney King and the things that were happening in our country at that time, or how we can actually take this time to talk about Nelson Mandela and what type of impact he had on our country and why it's so huge and why everybody's talking about him being in the hospital right now, because they may have not, heard about him as much these last few years. But he was a huge impact in my life when I was
Mm-hmm.
growing up, and I learned so much about him. And so, even taking this summer to introduce him maybe in summer reading and having kids, pull a book about him, that can be on their level and at their age, where they can learn a little bit about why he is so important and so beloved in our country. So definitely these trending topics, even if they may seem far removed, and Paula Deen, I don't even know her, and Zimmerman, that's in Florida, but really all of these things that are happening in our country right now will put a stamp on this time in history. And so it will impact us way down the line. And so we can use this time to talk to our children about race relation and love and gun control and all kind of things, and even the conversation that sometimes we have to have with our young Black male teens on their surroundings and what they need to do in order to make sure they get home safe, whether it's right or wrong.
Yeah.
Whether you need to not put the hoodie over your head when you're walking certain places, just so that you get home safe. That is at the end of the day what I need my kids to be able to be home safe, and what are some things that they can do to make sure and help that. Right.
There's and I think it also brings, like, the death of Trayvon was so extreme, but we also have to know that there's also lots of little girls who have been assaulted and hurt and taken advantage of and violated, doing the same thing, going to the store for some candy. And so it really is, as hard as it is for us to think about it. I heard two grandmothers yesterday while I was signing my contract talking about twerking. And one of the grandmothers had seen her granddaughter, doing the booty bounce thing.
Right. For all of those out there, devoted moms who don't know what twerking is, who are Googling it right now, yes, it's a type of dance where your backside is the focal point.
Yes. It's very provocative. But it was interesting listening. They were on another side of the wall, so I couldn't see them. But it was very interesting because, okay, I'm sorry, something happened there.
No problem.
Okay, again, it was interesting. And it was because the grandmother was really like, no, you don't do that. That's inappropriate. And she was talking to her coworker, and the coworker's like, I think you were a little harsh on her because you saw her doing something, and you added stuff to it that she has no idea about. She's only 7. And so I have worked with some initiatives that talk about taking off your adult lens when you are talking to children, because the grandmother who was like, no, we don't do that, this is very offensive and disrespectful, she later said, well, no, I wasn't chastising her or trying to make her feel bad about her body or anything like that. I just thought about, there's some really crazy people out here, and I want to protect her. And I want her to know that, that there might be some pervert watching her. And so really it came from a place of protection, but it did, so then the other woman says to her, who's kind of pushing back, she said, I know you're not going to like this. She could be standing still, completely, fully clothed, playing a violin, and something like that can happen.
Right.
So in a way, I understand the need to have her what's respectful, what isn't respectful, but also not in a way of discouraging her from being able to freely express herself through dancing and through singing.
Right.
And I can remember I had a girlfriend who had a very young sister, and she would come over, and that was when the Butterfly was out. Okay, so first of all, I'm dating myself because the Butterfly was out. I know, Tasha, what were you in elementary school? Don't answer that. If you love me, you won't answer. But this little girl, Ebony, came over to Miss Regina's house, and she asked her mom, "Hey, mommy, is Miss Regina's house public?" And we were all like, "No, it's not." And so she started doing it, right? Because they had told her that she could not do the butterfly in public. But she wasn't really
Oh,
sure what butterfly, for those who don't know, was another. I think it was a kind of a Caribbean dance.
right.
That was also, through an adult lens, could look very provocative and very
Mm-hmm.
inappropriate for, I think, Boney at the time was 4.
Okay.
But
Yep.
she could do it. She could
Oh my
rock it,
gosh.
man. So setting those parameters, but also realizing that they are that dance is a form of expression. So these women kept talking through what how do you do that without going too far. And it was interesting because they then started talking about some of the dance classes
Mm-hmm.
that another child had been to, and they were teaching them African dance. And African dance steps can be very seductive, and so there was a challenge there, because here this is an art form, but you're saying you can't. Um, it's something that we have to think about. We have to think about, how do we teach our young people to behave in a way
Right.
that limits maybe their chances of being harmed,
Mm-hmm.
but also give them the space to be able to express themselves in a safe place. It's kind of like finding a safe place, and then there's some places that are not as safe. But yeah, public was a big word. Was a lesson that she had been learned. Like, where's public again? Uh, I know it's not at mommy's house, but is it at Miss Regina's house too?
That is true. That is so true. And that's
Yeah,
funny. I love that. And
yeah.
just for something funny that will make you laugh, speaking of twerking, we can actually end the show on this, but devoted moms, go ahead to YouTube and Google twerking intervention.
Huh?
It is a little a little comedy uh
Okay.
tube, and it's hilarious.
Okay.
It'll make you giggle. So YouTube twerking intervention. I think you'll have a good laugh, moms out there.
Okay.
But my mom hat is about to be on. My little sweet angel just woke up.
Yeah.
So we are going to enjoy our last day in California
I
before we head out
know.
tomorrow morning.
Okay.
But devoted moms, thank you so much for joining us today, especially our regular guests who are with us every week. And next week, I think we're going to have a past guest on with us, Dr. Adrienne Berry, family therapist, and looking forward to speaking with her actually about how your past affects you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're going to look at, I think her phrase is looking at your rear view mirror while you're looking out your windshield, or something like that. So should be very interesting. And then after that, we actually have a few more guests that are lined up. So just stay tuned with us. We look forward to chatting with you on Thursdays. And, Tasha, hugs and kisses to the family.
Yes,
And
thank you.
I'll
You
actually
too.
be seeing you in a couple of weeks, hopefully.
Yes.
Unless these contracts keep rolling through, girl.
Right.
So we'll see.
Which is a good thing.
But God bless you and your families, and devoted moms, take some time for yourself, and we hope we see you next week.
Yay. Thank you, devoted moms.
Okay, Tasha. See you on the other side.
See you on the other side. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.